So I moved here to the border in 1995. So it's been 23 years, and I came here because I was going to come here for 1 year. 1 year. But I was called here, and I was led here, and this is where the skill set that I had was going to be best put to use, and that's why I've stayed. And I can tell you that my job here has been incredibly difficult, but also incredibly rewarding. So there's a story of a little boy that's walking along the beach, and I'm sure you've heard this. And there's a beach full of stranded starfish. And he decides to pick up each starfish and yank it back into the ocean. And he looks around, and there's millions of starfish that are stranded. And there's an older man that comes up and says, "Son, what are you doing? You'll never have enough time to save all these starfish." And the reality is, the little boy said, "I may not be able to save them all, but to this one, I'll make a change in his life forever." And that is the reality of what I have to do as an immigration lawyer. The need here in the Rio Grande Valley for competent, zealous, compassionate representation is huge. And it's difficult, I don't know why, but it's difficult to be able to recruit and keep that type of immigration lawyer here in the Rio Grande Valley. Maybe it's difficult because it's one of the poorest places in the United States, but I think that's the beauty of it. Maybe it's difficult because there's not a lot of nightlife, but that's also the beauty of it. Maybe it's difficult because it's hot, but you get to swim all year round. I'm not sure why it is that it's difficult, but I can tell you that the work is immensely rewarding. So let me take you now to June 3rd. So on June 3rd, I'm sitting in my office. Keep in mind, I'm a private immigration attorney. Do not receive funds from the government. I do not receive grants from any organization. My work is funded and paid for by the clients who actually hire me to use my skill set to help them. So on June 3rd, I sat in my living room at the time, and I thought to myself, now we've gone 5 days of separating parents. And I know all those parents are going to the Port Isabel Detention Center. And I know there's one legal service organization that can serve all of the 1,700 people that are detained in the Port Isabel Detention Center. And I know that one organization is down one attorney and is down 2 paralegals. That means there's 1 attorney and 2 paralegals left to serve 1,700 people. And I knew that there's no way that they would even be able to talk to all the people, much less provide any representation. And because I was called here, I picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, do you guys need some help? I'm going to be going to the detention center tomorrow, which I normally do about 3 times a week anyway. Why don't you give me the names of some of the parents and I'll talk to them. I'll see what we can do for them, figure out what their case is about." I said, "You know what, give me 6. I've got time tomorrow. Usually takes me about an hour, hour and a half with each one. I'll go ahead and just spend the day at the detention center." So I talked to 6 people. And then I realized that there's 75 people in the pod for each one of the 6 people I spoke with. I quickly took a gasp and went back and talked to my staff. I said, "Guys, what do we have this month? What's going on? We've got to make sure that we can triage. We've got to have all hands on deck, spending time at the detention centers." So for the entire month of June, I spent pretty much every day at the detention centers, triaging every day, 10 to 15 parents. And I tell you that I'm talking about just the parents in my work because I know that there's another subset of the same organization that provides representation and legal access for the children. But there's a complete gap for the parents. But the key in all these cases is the parents. Because if the parents don't win their cases, if the parents don't pass that screening for asylum, they're never going to be able to get their kids. So I knew we had to get the parents. I was overwhelmed. Knowing the fact that we don't have a significant number of attorneys here in the Rio Grande Valley to basically provide services for free and finance their work themselves, knowing that the legal service organization was down staff, I got a call 2 days later. I was in my office. It was 9:52 p.m. I'll never forget. It was a friend of mine from DC. And she's been a friend for about 20 years, and she said, Jodi, I have somebody you need to meet. I'm going to patch him in. No name given, nothing. And then there's another person that gets on the phone three-way. Hi, my name's Ali, and I'm coming. I'll be there tomorrow. I'm bringing 10 lawyers. And I said, oh my God, thank you. I said, who are you? Who are these lawyers that you're bringing? Because I'm bringing you 10 fully trained, fully staffed, Spanish-speaking immigration lawyers. Wow. God. At that point, they got here, and we immediately were able to sort out and do significant triage. Within the first 5 days, we were able to triage about 300 parents, figure out who was in what stage of the process, who needed to be prepared for what, and what we could do to be able to help them. That was a tremendous lightening of my load. I slept. And then they left. And then I was back to the same thing. Oh gosh, what are we going to do? And then we started organizing more, being able to work with other organizations around the country to be able to send lawyers. There was a coordinated effort through KIND, Kids in Need of Defense, that sent immigration attorneys that were experienced in asylum law to come. And that went on for about 4 weeks, which allowed me to sleep some more. I worked 20-hour days for about a month, and then I went back to only working about 16-hour days, so that was really good. And then I took vacation. I left, and when I left, it was a whirlwind frenzy. My plane was going to leave in an hour, and I had not packed. And I ran to my house, and I literally threw things into my bag, and I left. And I left just a few days before the deadline to reunify. And at the time of my departure, which was on 24th, of the 30 parents that I had directly been involved with, at that time, 27 of them had been reunited with their children. So I left, leaving 3 in detention. And while I was gone, my associate was able to get 2 others out of detention, and then we were left with 1, and I will happily report that I was late coming here today because Ingrid, who was featured on NPR about a week ago, and also featured yesterday in The Intercept, received a positive credible fear today. This morning we're getting a bond for her, and after 2 months and 3 days she's going to be reunited with her child. Oh.